Understand that you ain't got nothing to lose. The only thing that you have to lose in this life is life itself.
Yeah.
Money can be made and it can be lost. Friendships can be made and they can be broken. Everything in this world is expendable, but your life, you only get one. So you might as well have yourself a lot of fun. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
for sure. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy CEO Haize, and I've been talking about this shit for I can't remember the first time I posted on Twitter when I was talking about all the guests I was having to end the show. But we got my boy Matty Pace in the building, and as you know, when Matty's in the building, it's a special time. This is only your second time ever being on the Awakened Soul, but I feel like this, like you're the special weapon, right? You're the big ass gun from Doom. You only bring it out in special occasions to make sure it still feels special, bro. What's going on, Matty?
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the introduction. That special gun, baby, you already know what it is. We busting out and making them run. We out here. It's good to see you. It's good to be on the show, man. I love the Awakened Soul, and thank you so much for having me. What better way to close out the year, and start a new one?
Absolutely. And with the topic that we have today, I guarantee, and I hyped it on Twitter, somebody is going to get their breakthrough from listening to this episode. And the reason why I wanted to do this, last year I had grand opening and grand closing. So it was the last episode of the year and then the first episode of the year, and they both featured our boys from damn it, why am I socially unacceptable?
Very white out.
Yeah, so
baby.
So I wanted to do something special, but I feel like because of the year that we had, all jokes aside, is that let's get people's minds back right. So came up with this concept, 3 R's. And we'll get into what the R's mean. I sent this to you a while ago, so we both had time to prepare for it. It's refocus, rebuild, and renew. Is that the one I called the last one?
So I'd have to pull up the email.
But yeah, so, and like I said, it's really a special way for us to kind of reset, get everyone refocus ourselves, especially as creatives. I think this has been a hard year for a lot of creatives to be stuck in, especially people who like get their inspiration from being out amongst the world. Like we didn't have that this year. So for creatives, for non-creatives, let's get ready to get into these 3 R's, bro. You ready?
Let's go. I'm ready.
This is gonna be a special one. So the first one that we got up is refocus, bro. So the thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna give some suggestions back and forth. Maybe some of ours overlap, maybe some of them don't. What's the first thing you have for refocus?
My number one on refocus, man, cut out distractions that are consuming your time and consuming your energy. If they're not doing anything good or beneficial for you, especially being a creative in your creative space, we feed off a lot of vibes, and the positive vibes can definitely launch us into a different projection, but those negative vibes can be a really messy snowball effect that could wind up real big, real messy, and real hard to shake and break.
Definitely. And so for my side of the refocus, the overarching thing that came out was letting go, right? There's a process of letting go. We got a lot of shit we need to let go of from 2020, whether it's mindsets, being whatever happened. So my first one is step back, but step back from an empowered place, right? Because sometimes we look at stepping back or falling back as being like a negative. No, step back, right? Because step back adds a new perspective. And I think we all need to step back and just take a look at what 2020 was for what it was and get ready to throw that bitch away and refocus. So really step back, look at your focus, look at your priorities, look at where you want to go, really survey the landscape, and then you can prepare to move forward into the next year. What you got next?
100%, man. I'd say the next thing is one of the biggest things, kind of a 2-for-1, is accountability. Taking accountability for your life, where you're at, your decisions. Stop running away from fear. Stop lying to yourself about the truth of a lot of the things that we're going on. Like, I'll agree that 2020, definitely a hell of a year in a bad way for a lot of people. But in retrospect, if the pandemic wasn't a thing, I think a lot of people would have something different to pin why they're not at where they're at in life. Yeah. And they're going to look for a different excuse rather than the pandemic, which is, very viable. But, I think a lot of people, man, are afraid most of the time, which I think we need more accountability to accept what we're not doing and what we need to be doing to grow.
Facts. I agree completely with that one. My number 2 on this one is let go. So we talked about stepping back for a new perspective.
Yep.
And when you get that new perspective, you need to look at some things and be like, you know what? I don't need this. And that may be some things physically that's around, some items you may have. It may be mindsets, thinking patterns, behaviors. Because for one, like I know I got stuck for a long time after not being able to leave the house, of just not leaving the house. And so as I got ready to do the creative and shit, like there was a while there, and I talked about this before on one episode, there was a version of the creative that I had finished that I had to scrap the whole thing, because where I was when I made that version was the pandemic version of me, and my thoughts were limited and everything. So being able to go back out and get new perspectives on things and just get some new energy going in me. I stopped being afraid. I started going out and going back on my walks, going through like some of the parks that we have here with the kids, of course with masks, but getting that energy back in me helped me refocus. And so that's definitely one thing that I want to say is let go of some shit. Whether, like I said, you got into habits or whatever it is because of the year that we had, let go of anything that's not serving where you want to go in 2021.
Watch Frozen again, you know what I'm saying? Let it go.
Yeah, definitely. What you got next? You got another one still in Refocus?
Man, I got mad for Refocus. One of the main ones is to first off get started. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they like to build up this mountain of change, this mountain of everything that I want to do, and I want this and I want that. But they're kind of neglecting the fact that you climb a mountain one step at a time. And I think a lot of times people paint a big vision of goals, and really it throws them off, because once they start not being able to hit that first step, that second, third, fourth, they're like, you know what, forget about it. I'm just going to give up. You know, there's always next year. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So I think in order to refocus that, man, you got to, don't allow yourself to give up, but rather give in to the hardship, give in to those emotions. So you know what it feels like. So when you get past that, when you get to the top of that mountain, you can look back and be like, damn, I'm real happy that I kept going through all that.
Yeah, and so my number 3 on that is kind of similar to yours. Mine was say yes, and specifically say yes to your visions. Sometimes we figure out reasons why, whatever it is, that we can't do something that we want to do, right? No matter what it is, whether it's something that we want to try or whatever, a new thing that we want to do. I think after this year, people say yes to yourself. Give yourself the freedom to try those new things, to try out a vision that you have. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful, but at least you won't have that regret or that what if I would have done this anymore. I say it all the motherfucking time. Like I'm a quiet person naturally. Quiet as shit. People in my life who've known me forever describe me as serial killer quiet. That's how fucking quiet I am. But I podcast. I've done live shows. I've sitting there and spoken in front of hundreds of people, and all that came because I said yes to myself on a vision of trying to start this podcast. Now look at everything that's fucking come out of it. So you just never know. And visions evolve, but they won't have the chance to evolve if you keep denying yourself the opportunity to try them. So say yes to those visions that are calling you. Say yes, allow yourself to give it a try. Doesn't mean it's going to be for you. You may find something else along that journey that is for you, but you will never know if you keep saying no to yourself.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think, you find out what works through what doesn't.
That's a fact. Yeah.
That is a fact.
That's a fact. What you got next?
For the refocus, man, you got to continue to develop. Development is key. When you kind of lose yourself, when you lose your focus, when you allow the outside world to disrupt what's going on inside of you, it's a really difficult thing to bounce back and to develop that strength. But in order to do that, I think we got to craft our mentality with a lot of positive content, inspiring content, empowering content, and stuff that's really going to cater to our needs in order to search for that growth from within, because as you know, nothing will change on the outside if nothing changes on the inside. So I think development is definitely a big thing when it comes to refocusing your goal, is refocusing your mentality in order to refocus that vision.
Definitely. And my this is the last one I have on this one. It's simply create it. And by that could be, that doesn't mean be a creative and pick up a mic or a camera or anything like that. It may mean to find your peaceful place, to find your quiet corner, create that yourself. Clear out something that's in your house and give yourself that corner. If you see something that you wish that you would have had during this pandemic and it wasn't out there, create it yourself. Something that a lot of people, just regular people, have found in the pandemic. They tried out creativity. They tried out a lot of things that came out because of this, and it's because they found something that wasn't existent or that they thought they could do better, and they created themselves. That's what's special about humans and people, is that we have the ability to say, fuck it, it's not out there. What can I do to put it out there? That's all
I'm gonna create it.
Yeah,
you know, the mind of a creative.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. What else you got?
Now we go ride. I'm not going too crazy on the first one. We
Okay.
gonna stop it there. Let's line up. You know, we good.
All right, cool. So the second R out of the 3 R's, rebuild. And this one, so I put it on here, right, because I feel like not only society's kind of rebuilding in a sense after this pandemic. Like the whole way of life that we lived for a while, it's going to have to rebuild themselves. And we're not out of the pandemic yet. Let's make sure that that's clear. But
100%.
But we're getting closer every day. We can take a couple steps back sometimes, but we're getting closer than what we were in March when this started.
Yeah.
And so my idea of rebuild, I thought about the thing of self-fulfillment, right? Because you have to you have to fill yourself up to rebuild yourself. And so the first thing that I thought about how can we rebuild ourselves is the biggest one: social connection. We are social people. Even some of us that are anti-social. I'm not the most sociable person day to day. But this pandemic taught me, I'm serious, bro. This pandemic taught me that, well, and that's the thing. It taught me maybe I'm not as antisocial as I thought I was, because I haven't gotten to see some of my cousins since this started. One of my closest cousins had a baby, and because of the coronavirus, they have like almost refused to leave the house. I have not gotten to see my little cousin yet because of it. So the first thing is like rebuild those social connections. Unfortunately, I know in a lot of places stuff is still closed and you can't just like go out and party or whatever. But whether that's get on Skype, get on Zoom, pick up the phone, like FaceTime. We have a lot of ways to stay connected to people in a year that it's really disconnected us from so many people. Start rebuilding those social connections, because as crazy as it sounds, I know there's a lot of negative people out there. It really does help your mindset when you have other people around you that love you.
Big time, especially when they're like-minded people. And if they can't be 100% like-minded, they can at least push you instead of stifle your vision. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But man, I gotta say, before I get in a rebuild on my end, when I went out to Columbus, when I went out for the boys' dirty 30 party, I would have never pegged you for antisocial when we all got together that night. Maybe it was the setting, maybe it's because there were a lot of fam there, but man, you were you were out there, social butterflying it.
So for me, it's when I'm around people that I'm comfortable with, it brings out a different side of me. Like if me and you, for example, just me and you, and me and you had talked a lot before then, so I was comfortable with you. So it wasn't that. Yeah. So me and you, say we just go out to a random bar in God knows what city. I'm literally probably going to talk to you, and that's it if I don't know anybody else there.
And all the girls with the pretty toes. That's it.
We'll find a way for that to work out, yeah.
I love it. In true Haize fashion, baby. So my thing with rebuild, man, the first thing I want to say is, the strongest part of a house is the foundation. And you can build the most beautiful, lavish mansion, the most beautiful pillars and everything. But if you building that on a foundation made of straw, the thing's going to crumble, it's going to break, and you're going to be right where you started, maybe even worse off through all the rubble. So my thing is to be grateful is my first thing in rebuilding, is to understand what you have, understand where you come from, understand that you need to embrace all the lowest of the lows in your life, because when you start to experience the highs, if you don't be grateful for your lows, you won't know how to handle the highs, and you're going to fall victim to a lot of bad things that could come with them. So my thing is focus on the foundation, and the first one there is just be grateful for everything and everyone that you have.
Hey, that's one that often goes overlooked, because even in what we've been through, we made it through, right? and be grateful for
Mm-hmm.
nothing else than that. In a time where a lot of people have lost a lot of loved ones, a lot of people who before this lived in perfectly healthy lives are now gone. Yeah, be grateful. Be grateful for that you're still here. Be grateful that you still have the loved ones that you do here. Be grateful that you still do
Yep.
have time to get it right, because if you're not grateful, you'll always it doesn't matter what else we list here. If you're not grateful for at least being here and the things that you do have, this
Right.
shit isn't going to help you if you're not grateful for those
Nobody.
things. So
In the words of J. Cole, there's always going to be a better house somewhere, but player feel me. As long as the people in that motherfucker love you dearly. You know what
that
I'm
is fact.
saying?
That is fact.
That's it.
My number 2 on rebuild is movement. You can't build something with staying still in the same spot, right? You have to move around to build stuff, and that may be exercise. That may be moving shit mentally by reading a new book, but you have to move. We've been cooped up. Move, get out and do something. Take that trip, take that chance, whatever it is. I understand that it's still risky. COVID is still out here, but at the same time, if it's gonna get you, it's gonna get you. You got to move around. You got to get out there.
That's right, man. Stagnant is one of the worst things that you could ever be in life. It's gonna, it's gonna prevent a lot of growth and a lot of success in a lot of people's lives, man. They think moving their fingers on Twitter is gonna take them to places they want to be, man. But it's action. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's making it happen. I couldn't agree more.
Definitely. What you got?
My next one on rebuild, man. The next one I think is, be selfless and give selflessly. I think in order to start receiving in life, you don't do it with the, you don't give with the intention to receive. When you donate to a foundation, when you give someone 5, 10, 15 bucks, you're not going to come back and a year from now, 2 years, when they're making money and be like, yo, where's that 15 I lent you a year and a half ago? When you start to give selfless, you start to receive way more than you could ever loan out in your life. And I think that's one of the main things that people neglect to see when it comes to rebuild. We live in a very materialistic culture. We live in a very flashy culture, trendy. And I think that in order to really have a solid foundation, again, referring back to the foundation in the rebuild process, you need to learn how to be more selfless with your time and with your action. I think those two things right there could change the tone of your life forever, especially because I've never felt bad when I've helped somebody else out of the graciousness of my heart, because I couldn't stand to see the pain on their face. Nothing in life will ever replace that feeling. I know you being a parent, you want to take the pain away from your kids when they go through it a little bit. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people can relate to that, and I think it's one of the pillars of the foundation when we're rebuilding the house. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I feel that. My next one, and to go off your analogy of a house, right? A house is nothing if you're not filling the house with playfulness and laughter. So that's my second one. Like, get out and have some fucking fun, whatever that is. You gotta have some fun.
I said,
man, it's like I said, during the first 3 months of the pandemic, my ass was depressed as shit. I'm not even gonna fucking lie. I talked about it on an episode. I had to come out of that, and by that I had to just help. I just embrace my kids. Just spend some time, like, just watch. Because the thing with kids the reason why kids are so resilient usually is because they don't give a shit about it. I look at my kids now. Them grabbing a mask, like I see people bitch about having to wear. They have not complained once about having to wear a mask. It's become second nature to them. In the middle of the pandemic, they hadn't even gone outside in a while. But guess what? They sitting up there playing that Xbox, playing Roblox, whatever else, laughing like it's not a fucking worry in the world. Playfulness and laughter. Get back in touch with that kid on the inside. That doesn't mean be childish, but be childlike sometimes in the way that you deal with things. You got to keep it moving and just have fucking fun. Like, that's all it is.
Fun.
Man. Just have fun.
Oh, man, to build on that topic, I'm saying, you know me, I like to clown around a lot. I like to have a lot of fun. Yeah. But, man, it's because I think in those fun moments where I think, letting go, as I believe you already said, letting go, why not? You know what I'm saying? The only way to really make an impact in your own life and to rebuild everything that's gone to kind of shit around you, if you feel that way, is to be yourself and be open. Understand that you ain't got nothing to lose. The only thing that you have to lose in this life is life itself. Yeah. Money can be made and it can be lost. Friendships can be made and they can be broken. Everything in this world is expendable, but your life, you only get one, so you might as well have yourself a lot of fun. You know what I'm
That is
saying?
for sure.
That's
That is for
it.
sure. That's it,
Hmm.
man. And then the last thing that I got on rebuild is my list dropped. Okay, sorry. The last thing, the last thing I had on it is build new rituals. Like that's it. Like come out of it doing something you didn't do before. Whether it's like to piggyback off something I said before, reconnecting with people, whether it's through FaceTime, whatever. Make that a ritual. If that's how you escape, if that's how you help get out of this mindset that some of us have been in, or just wash the taste from 2020 around, is build and regain. Maybe it's regaining the ritual you had before that you haven't been able to do, but rebuild new ones. Add something new to your life. Whether it's going to take a walk. Some people didn't appreciate the outside until they didn't have it, right? So build a new routine by going out, walking around that lake, enjoying that. Watch the fucking ducks, whatever it is. Like the fucking geese are out of control in Columbus, but watch the geese
Everywhere,
if
dog.
that's your thing. So yeah,
Everywhere.
yeah, definitely. What you
I
think, bro?
gotta agree with you, man. You never, like you said it perfect. You don't know what you have until it's gone. You know what I'm saying? You don't know the value of what you have until you can't have it anymore. And that
That's a
to
fact.
me being traveling, definitely top tier on my list. But to give my last one on rebuild, I'm gonna have to reflect back on it and just say, let go. Just let go.
Yeah.
You gotta let go if you're trying to move forward. So many people have like these chains, these invisible chains that they attach to themselves with weights on their chest. And
Yeah.
they don't realize that, part of living life is messing up. And part of finding out what works, like we already said, is through what doesn't work. You can't be afraid to fail. And the only way that you can find out whether you fail or succeed is to actually do. Putting one foot in front of the other. Everybody got an excuse. Everyone can tell you 100 times why they can't do something. But when you ask them the truth and say, why not? And they can't come up with the answer. It's because one, they either don't want to face the truth, or two, because they haven't spent enough time trying to rebuild and find it. And I always say, man, the root of every issue is the root itself. So don't be afraid. Don't trim off the branches. Go straight to the root, attack it, rebuild, and grow. You live another day. You got air in your lungs. You got possibility and potential. It's time for you to bring it out of you and make it happen.
That's it. That's it on that one. I think we put a nail in that one. The very last one with Renew, and I don't have a long list for Renew because I think the one that I came up with nailed it home perfectly for me. And that is sometimes to grow, to expand out of a situation, or to grow past a situation, to refresh yourself, you have to change your surroundings. And I know a lot of people, and this came from me talking to other creatives and talking to just people that I know in life, who after this pandemic is over, they're moving from their city just because it made them realize that they haven't experienced a lot of shit because they've been stuck or afraid to move. So sometimes,
Landlocked.
sometimes to grow out, you got to move out. So don't be afraid to change your surroundings. Don't be afraid to get into, sometimes for new experiences and a fresh start. I've moved all my life, right? And I get the itch to move every 4 to 5 years. I get that itch to get the fuck out of wherever I am. So that's not something that I've personally struggled with, but I know a lot of people who, like, for whatever reason, they're attached and locked into these cities, and then you haven't really experienced much because, like, you don't travel for real and you're not moving. Like, nah, those two, like, we're humans. And if you look at the way the humans were, they were always in a state of movement. We didn't start getting into this stagnant time of living in one place for 10, 20 years until societies, and we built houses and shit. But humans, the cavemen, moved all the fucking time. And so,
Look at the wheel, baby.
yeah, so we're not built to not experience other things and other cultures. Like, I get it. Now we have the ability to travel and then come back to the same city. So if you're not traveling, you think about considering moving. Change your surroundings. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a permanent change, but change your surroundings. Get out, do new things, add new experiences, and you'll be surprised how experiencing other cultures automatically gives you a new perspective on life, and thus it refreshes your mind automatically. Get the fuck out. That's what I got on this one. What do you think?
Me personally, I want to refer to a quote from somebody who really inspires me, a motivational speaker by the name of Les Brown. You may have heard of him. He actually was at one time in politics in Ohio years and years ago. But this guy, man, he is phenomenal. And one of the things that has always stuck with me that he said is people are like photographs. They develop in the dark. And I think that right there speaks volumes. And I think everybody takes certain things, and whether it strummed that chord in your heart, whether it gave you goosebumps, whether it didn't, you just brush it off. I know somebody out there needed to hear that, because I think oftentimes we get so afraid of the dark, but we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And all fear is false evidence appearing real. So at the end of the day, if you're bold enough to look fear in the face, take a slap or two, and then stand up and come back for it, you're going to find that light. And then when you remove yourself from the dark, you're going to get that beautiful image that was at one time engulfed in nothingness, the absence of color. So I think that the more we face those fears, the more that we put ourselves in that kind of embrace the suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you will never find out what you're made of, man. You will never renew yourself, and your life will always be a little bit better in different points and different periods of time, but you're always going to have that piece in you that is what I like to call regret, and the what ifs, and I wish I could. And in the words of Les Brown again, man, wannabes don't make no honey. So if you're trying to do something in life, you got to renew yourself. You got to rebuild yourself. You got to refocus yourself. You got to hit life harder than it hits you. And you got to keep getting up when you get knocked down. It's very simple, very common principles. I think that we were all, or a lot of us were raised with that, over time, we kind of let different things distract us and consume us, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But I think at the end of the day, when we just have that time with ourselves, when we get to look each other or ourselves in the mirror, see our own face, try having a conversation with yourself. And if you can hold one for 5 minutes, you're probably halfway there. If you get a little uncomfortable after the first 30 to a minute, I think you got some work to do. But hey, that's just coming from a person who's experienced the growth for himself. And I hope that what I just said helped somebody, as I hope what you said helped somebody as well.
Yeah, that's all that this is. Like, and I hope somebody walks away from this episode and just can start feeling better if they were down, or if they were, doubting how to move forward. That's all it's about, man. That's all it's about. I always said, like, there's no point in me having a platform if I don't touch people. I could talk about God knows whatever, like love and hip hop, whatever. Like, to me, all that shit was. I didn't want to have a podcast to talk about this shit. I wanted to have a podcast to help people, and that's what we're getting back to the root of it. We want to start the year off in the right way.
100%. And just to add on to the point, man, what's the point of making something that's already out there 1,000 times over? You know what I'm saying? Sure. What's going to separate you from the rest? Just like in real life, whether you're a content creator or someone trying to develop an art business, or something else, flipping houses, you name it, man. It's all built on the same foundation, I believe.
That's facts. That's it. Well, Matty, we got another classic in the books, man. We did it. Go ahead and tell the people where they can find you, your platform, a little bit about yourself before we get the hell up out of here.
Yo, man, first off, Matty Pace coming at you live from the Matty Mo Show, the host, the most mojo, but you already know. You can find me pretty much anywhere, man, except iHeartRadio. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it. Or you can get all my links at mattymoshow.com. That's MATTYMOSHOW.com. Thank you so much for everybody tuning into this episode who listens to my podcast, and especially to this man right here, the red-bearded assassin, the content king himself, the only man who I think could give me a run for my money in the whole game, but you didn't hear it from me. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I don't know, man. I couldn't do it daily, bro. The fact I'm letting you know right now, there is no way. I look at it. How many days consecutive are you at this point?
I dropped episode 1080 tonight, which means 15 days from now, we're going to be at 3 years straight of daily podcasts. Never skipped a beat once.
Shit, man. There's no way in hell. The amounts of tequila and marijuana that I would have needed to make it that many days in a row is criminal. Like, so hats off to you, bro. Like, seriously, I always say it, like, daily podcasting is not something that I even thought was fathomable before I met you, man. And you kill it every day. And it's not like you have any filler like, there are people who have a bi-weekly podcast that have filler fucking content. For you to be able to go 3 years straight and not one episode has been filler, bro, hats off to you, man. Hats off.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, it's part of the passion and the love, baby. That's what it is. You know,
that's all it's about. That's all it's about. But, man, this has been another episode of The Awakened Soul. You guys know where you can follow me, at CEO Haize. Finally back to at CEO Haize on every platform. So, Matty, you probably don't know this because it was before. So I got off Instagram briefly, right? I got off Instagram for like a year. And then when I came back, somebody stole the CEO Haize name. Like, the way that I spell it, somebody had to be fucking trying to troll me.
They did the caps and everything.
And everything. Took me two years to be able to get this back on Instagram. So I'm back to CEO Haize on every platform possible. So it's been an exciting. I just randomly went on there one day and I tried to change it and it was like, the username's available. I'm like, finally, motherfucker. Like,
thank God the imposters are out of here.
But yeah,
I'm happy.
I appreciate that, man. So back to CEO Haize on everything. You can follow the podcast at Awaken Soul Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, theawakensoulpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to send us a voicemail, you can do so at 614-547-2039. We are the #1 podcast in the game. And this week, we out, bitches. Peace.
We out, baby.
Dope.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.